Sunday morning. Well, what's going on with China? What's going on with the Far East? Well, there's nobody better than Gordon G. Chang and his Twitter. If you want to know what's going on 24 hours a day, at Gordon G. Chang. And Gordon, there's so many things going on. I don't know how you would keep track. Where do we start?
I think we start on Thursday, and when President Trump announced that Xi Jinping was coming to the White House on September 24th. That is a confirmation of what the President said when he was in Beijing in May for the first of the two summits this year. This is important because there's so many disagreements right now with China. Secretary Rubio has been trying to lay the groundwork for what he calls a very positive meeting. He sat down with China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi, and what was interesting was the press availability that the Secretary of State gave, because on Wednesday he was directly asked whether China was providing targeting information and data to the Iranians for use against American forces, and he refused to answer the question. So people are going to wonder about the extent and continued involvement of China in Iran's war effort.
And there's so many things, going on. There was articles in the New York Times, there was articles in the Wall Street Journal about the continuous, what's the nicest way to say it? Not necessarily attack on the United States, whether it's the drugs, whether it's the political influences. You start.
Yeah, China talks about unrestricted warfare, and that is a struggle against the United States below what we consider to be acts of war. So if there is certainly fentanyl, which is a project not just of Chinese criminal gangs, but those gangs operate with both the knowledge and the approval at the highest levels of the Communist Party. And then, of course, we have China's stealing of American intellectual property. We heard this last week with the White House's Director of Technology saying that China's Kimi 3, which is their most recent AI model, distilled from Anthropic's fable. In short words, that is, they used Anthropic's model to train the Kimi model, which is a theft of intellectual property. And so there's going to be, we've heard from the administration warnings to China about this. We'll see what occurs in the next week or so in the run-up to, of course, that summit in Washington.
Understood. What else is going on in the Far East? I understand that there's difficulties going on in the Philippines.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that is the most important development in Asia right now. At Scarborough Shoal on Friday, we had the Chinese use water cannon on a Philippine boat. A CNN crew happened to be on the Philippine boat and watched the Chinese. Just a few days before that, Chinese sailors attacked a Filipino on a boat, causing a head injury. We're talking about events at Scarborough Shoal and Second Thomas Shoal. These are in the South China Sea. They're very close to the Philippines. They're thought to be part of the Philippines, and they're very far from China, but China claims them within its 10-dash line claim. So this is a continuing series of not only confrontations, but sometimes they get embroiled into worse. And we have to watch this very closely because the Chinese tactics are becoming much more aggressive and much more belligerent.
Understood. What else would you like to tell the American people on a Sunday morning?
This is a very interesting period because the Trump administration wants to try to calm waters between the United States and China. China's been very aggressive recently, and it seems like that they feel that they can do what they want. President Trump has a lot of power. The big issue is going to be the Chinese economy, which is not growing at the 4.3% pace that they reported for the second quarter this year. People are saying it's maybe 1% growth. Some people say 0, and can even be contracting. we're seeing some very distressing signs from China right now on the economy.
Well, Gordon Chang at Gordon G. Chang on Twitter. Thank you so much for your update, and let's catch up again real soon.
Thank you so much, John.